Along those lines, and looking at like page 6, again on page 11, I think, and page 24, it talks about the schools that are can accept this, and one of the qualifications says has accredited at least 20 schools or any number of schools that serve a cumulative total of more than 1,000 students. What?
Actually, there's an amendment. I was just told that's taking that out.
So we're going to tighten that down. One of the things that I want to make sure, if we're going to allow taxpayer dollars to go somewhere, that we have we have accredited schools.
I was actually made aware of that during our discussion on the floor today, and there's an amendment taking that out. Senator Betancourt has.
Thank you, Senator Betancourt. One more thing. I know it's been said, but I want to kind of get my mind around it, is the standards by which we know that students are performing. One of the things that we talked about with my staff and I is that we know that a child needs to be reading by 3rd grade. We have extensive tests starting in 3rd grade, and we just finished the STAR test this last week for several grades. What guarantee do we have that a child who is receiving this is 175% of free and reduced lunch and below, and those that qualify go to an accredited school? We're going to tighten that down. What guarantees do we have as lawmakers to know that our taxpayer dollars are following a child, that they are up to a standard?
I think a private school who lives by people choosing to go there cannot afford to not give an education. You know, it's interesting, we had this discussion. If you'll think back to the charter schools, and we talk about some of these accountability measures, you never hear the charter schools complaining about whatever we do with accountability here, because they're already living with a higher standard. The students and the parents who choose to send their kids to those schools can leave at any time. They're already living with a higher standard. So when we talk about A through F, you never heard the charters up here complaining about it, because they're already living with a much higher standard than what we could do from the state level. They have ultimate accountability with those parents. And I think if you're a parent who is choosing to go to a school and your child is not receiving a good education, you're not going to continue on that path. And I would dare say that school is not going to be able to continue very long if they don't teach kids how to read and do math and all the other things we require of them. I just think it's the it's the ultimate in accountability. And like I say, the charters have been living with it since the 90s. And you know, we've even raised the stakes even higher to get rid of some of the schools that weren't doing well. So I think we have that pretty well.
But you would agree that when we first started charters, which were, you came in 2003, I came in 2001, and I'll never forget the debate that we had on the House floor in 2001 before you came there about some of the charter schools. It had started under then Governor Bush, who later became President Bush, and that we had some charter schools that weren't accountable. And we've spent a long time, many steps, to getting to where I think there's a point where they are accountable. You've heard me for a week now say to you that we've got to start small. We've got to start small. We've got to have accountability, you know, because of what my experience was in the charters. Do you think that this is the framework that can let us do that?
I think the accreditation process takes care of what we did not have for the charters.
And then finally, you know, one of the things that I struggle with, I know I look around this floor and some people are completely out of the bill with the $285,000. I fought to get that number to $600,000 because I represent part of Fort Bend County. I haven't been successful with that. You and I discussed that. That would have taken most of your district out of it. You said you wanted your district to be able to avail themselves of this program that you're putting forward. I know that the public schools that I represent, certainly the school board members I've worked with, don't like this idea. I know that some parents might find this good. I'm fortunate to have very good school districts there. We've exempted out most small districts, but there are some small districts that come into those major counties, like Needville ISD. You and I talked about Needville yesterday. What was your answer to me when I said, gosh?
Well, I think if you look at a school district like Needville, where that's the center of that town, people don't want to leave that school system. That's the heart and soul of that community. And you're going to have some students within with that system that doesn't meet their needs and that they may choose to leave. But it's going to be a small number. And once again, we have a significant growth in student population spread across the state, obviously concentrated in some areas, but there's some growth going on. And so I just don't think you're going to see a significant impact on Needville.
So your opening statement talked about, didn't you call it the incumbent schools and what?
Well, they had when you're talking about public school parents and students, the existing public school they attend today has all the advantages. Incumbency. That's where the kid's already at. That's where their friends are. That's maybe where the parents went to school. They've got all the facilities. They've got the activities, the extracurricular stuff, and it's the center of town. I just think that's a huge driver for our traditional public school system, particularly in the traditions of Texas with our sports and all the drill teams and cheerleaders. That's where our kids want to be in the middle of all that activity.
Well, I will say this, and a football coach said it best to me one night after a football game, and he said, look around, Lois. He said, tonight, all of us were one. Black, brown, white, poor, middle class, rich. We all came together for one common goal, and that was to put on the green and to cheer for our hometown.
Very unifying, but there were some students that weren't even at that game. It wasn't their deal. And they may have had social issues where they didn't get along well with kids. Some of them may have gotten started off on the wrong foot at a younger age and never could get out from under that. And some of them just need a new start. And that's what we're talking about, a very small number of kids who just need something
and that's my last follow-up. I know that Senator Uresti talked about CPPP. I looked at that chart today, and I saw it went 5%, I think 3-1. Other states, 30 states now roughly, that have done this. And what's the highest mark that anyone has hit in participation?
Somebody said Florida. The ones I've seen were like between 1.5% to 2%.
So your thoughts on this is to take, as you just described, the kid that wasn't at that football game that night, someone that didn't quite fit in, that didn't fit into a larger setting in some of our big ISDs, that we give that child the ability, the parents of that child, to have a choice.
Yeah, and some of those students are very bright, but they're not going to thrive the way they could in a different environment. And we really want to get the full benefits for our whole state to every one of these kids' talents. We have incredibly talented folks all around us, have different skills, but we want to give all of them the chance to thrive and reach their full potential. And that's really what the point of this bill is.
And at the same time, not harm our public school system by taking money away from them.
The beauty of the bill, the way it's designed, is one person's choice does not harm another. And that's really the beauty of this. We can have people choosing either way, and their choice does not affect the other one.
Well, Senator Taylor, I want to thank you as we begin the amendments for, again, your patience, tireless efforts in addressing my needs. I know Senator Perry was with me, Senator Birdwell, as we sat for hours with you going over and talking about the application to rural Texas and suburban Texas and urban Texas, and meeting the needs of all of our children in different settings by making sure that we're not harming institutions that we've made substantial investments in and that they are the heartbeat of our communities.
Thank you, sir, and I appreciate your passion for education, having served with us last session as well on education. Thank you, sir.